Hello, I'm Melinda. How are you doing? Welcome to this amazing program that we have for you. This is a program that you need to take down some notes. It really will empower you, your life, or your loved ones as well. It's a special edition of Creating a Healthy Manhood for Boys and Men of Color. And we have some wonderful individuals with us today who are here to share some of their expertise, their knowledge, and also on the same mission that we are on, and that's to help create healthier manhood for our men of color. First of all, we have our mayor, our wonderful mayor, Deborah Robertson. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us so that we could begin a conversation on a very important topic. This is Men's Health Awareness Month, and we here in the city, we've been providing kind of a opportunity to focus on that with a Men's Health Awareness Day. So I look forward to speaking to it, and I want to say quickly and sadly, as I walked in this morning, or this afternoon, and this morning I called one of our citizens in the community that we always go to. He's always very supportive of supporting all of our community activities. He's a veteran. He's worked with the Rialto Family Services. I called him this morning to let him know I had made contact with our congressional office on veteran issues. He didn't answer. I called the founder of the program, Mr. Esteban Bennett, to find out what was going on with Mr. Parker. And I was informed that sadly he had had a massive stroke on Tuesday and unfortunately succumbed to it. So I don't want to close this program in memory of Mr. Parker. I actually want to underscore the importance of why we're having Men's Health Awareness Month and what started it. And I was devastated. Mr. Parker provided so much to our community. And if you knew Mr. Leroy Parker, you knew he was very happy to be able to be here and assist and serve our veterans in the community. He's going to be sorely missed. His family, his wife, who's one of our commissioners as well, Miss Brenda Parker, on the Human Relations Commission, as well as their daughter and son. I just want to say our hearts go out to them and we'll be here for them. So with that, that is underscoring why I feel it's so important for men to focus on their health.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. And at this moment, I'm pretty sure that all of us are sending our condolences to the family that, I know Brenda personally, and we love them dearly. They are a wonderful family. Thank you. Thank you. Now, let's get started here. We have with us Dr. Mel Palmer. Thank you, Dr. Palmer, for being here.
Well, thank you for the invite, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you on here. I see Ryan, who he and I go way back, so he's a friend of mine. The rest of you, it's a pleasure to meet you at this point.
Very good. And Mr. Perry Brents, thank you. You've done a lot of work, a lot of groundwork. Thank you for being with us and, helping with this wonderful program.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, let's get to work, okay? Who are men of color? From what I saw this morning in the website, it says, in the United States, people of color includes African Americans, Asian Americans, Native Americans, Pacific Islander Americans, multiracial Americans, and some Latinos. So we have a lot of ground coverage. However, the big and main issue is our African American male. And that's a targeted area that we are going to cover. So let us go first. Let us go first with, if you don't mind, Dr. Palmer. One of my concerns, Dr. Palmer, has always been My understanding is that you work with a lot of mental health cases. Is that correct?
Yes, I work with men and the mental wellness of men.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And is it so, from what I understand, that there's a high rate in suicide? What could be the issue?
Well, there's a lot of stress that's going on, particularly in African American males, that we underscore or tend to look over. It's that stereotypical idea that African American males are resilient and that they don't experience the level of trauma or emotional stress that other men experience, which is a misnomer. And so subsequently, we deal with our emotional stress in silence as to not dispel the myths that we can handle almost anything. And so subsequently, we find a lot of it until we can get a space where men can actually talk openly and safely about their emotions. And in some cases, learn what the emotions really are. A lot of men don't know what they are. They have two emotions: is I'm all right and I'm pissed off, and they go from 0 to 60 at any moment through that spectrum without stopping at the other emotions that are between the lows and the highs.
I see. And Mr. Berryman, you shook your head. Tell me, why did you do that? What was your thought when he mentioned that?
Yes, Dr. Palmer and myself, we do go way back. And matter of fact, there was a program that we were together working on having to do with men. And I'm the executive director of San Bernardino Fatherhood, which is a nonprofit organization. I've been running this program for the past 6 years after retiring from Children and Family Services with the county. So I've had quite a bit of contact and work with a number of different fathers of all different demographics. And what he's saying is accurate, totally accurate. Going from 0 to 60, not understanding their feelings and emotions, and also not understanding how to adequately address those feelings and emotions. So what Dr. Palmer is saying, I'm well familiar with and working with a lot of men in our community.
I see. And Vicki, if I could come to you. Vicki, tell me, I know that you have a very difficult job in coping and dealing with some of the counseling cases that you deal with. Now, do you find that some of those cases have been affected by, let's say, socioeconomic issues, concerns, the budgets, not being able to take care of their homes, maybe the children, not being able to feed the children properly or nourish the family like it should be? Is it a problem with counseling?
Well, I think absolutely anytime you're going to do counseling, no matter what the group that you're going to work with, you have to consider biopsychal and social factors. So obviously the condition of the community, one's experience, one's lived experience in the world, perceptions about identity, access to resources, all of those types of things will play into the mental health of the individual, and it will play into the different strategies that they are able to develop to cope with the challenges that they're coming to counseling to seek support for. So without a doubt, Mr. Linda, I think that is why this event is so important, is so that we can not only expose our men of color to different avenues of processing and dealing with their emotions and the world's stage for them that they have to exist in, but also, even though this is an event that is about men of color, it's not limited to men of color, because like I said, communities affect the way that people cope with their mental health, and they affect the resources that people seek out. And so this event is open to women. This event is open to men who don't identify as men of color, mothers, aunts, whoever in their life is coming in contact with a man of color, which is all of us, could benefit from the topics that are going to be covered at this event, if not personally, professionally, but for the broader sense of the community.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Now, Perry Brantz, Mr. Brantz, let me ask you a question, okay? Now, you deal with a lot of youth, is that right?
Yes.
In your area, you deal with a lot of youth. What do you find to be the most difficult thing, issue that a young man of color, 17, 18 years old, has to deal with? What is the most difficult thing, do you find?
Well, if you go back to what Dr. Palmer talked about, men of color face a lot of pressure in society. So, for example, some men believe they're expected to be providers and to refrain from asking for help or sharing their feelings. Well, that starts at that age. And so by us having this event, what we're trying to do is bring them in to teach them that they can share their feelings, that they can be who they want to be. But it starts someplace by having role models. It starts in place by having people who've been there, done that, and can now teach them the pitfalls. So within the context of conversations, we want to have and we want to be able to dispel some of the myths, mysteries, and the mistakes that have defined men of color. And so it starts with that young age group. That's the most difficult thing. And we're spoiling them a lot of times because the men of color believe that things are equal. You know, they have this feeling that everything that I'm doing is equal to what everybody else is doing. And it's not. And starting with those myths, you know, we need to surround a man's identified gender roles. That's what we're going to be talking about. And we want to be able to promote healthy behaviors as well as healthy identity. Mm-hmm. And if time permits, I'll talk a little bit about healthy identity and what that means for me and what I think that should mean for young men.
Okay, we'll come back to you. You know,
Okay.
I keep hearing about this event. I want to hear from you, Mayor. What exactly is this event? Tell us.
All right, thank you. I'm just smiling, bursting, because this, of course, May is Mental Health Month, and it's mental health for everybody, inclusive, not just gender specific or ethnicity specific. And I'm smiling because we do talk about the event. The event is on June 15th. During the day, we will hold a Men's Health Awareness Day in conjunction with our farmers market. Great time to talk about physical health as well as mental health and just camaraderie and knowing that health is inclusive. It includes men, women, mothers, daughters, sisters, wives, everything. But the evening, this will be our second time that we will hold a evening event. And I'm so proud and happy to have the diversity and the people who are stepping forward. This is just a small representation of the community-based involvement and the faith-based involvement with the event this evening. And again, what Ms. Davis stressed, and she's serving as our chair, it's open, it's so many things, but it's June 15th, starting at 6 p.m. at our Grace Vargas Senior Center at 1411 South Riverside Avenue. And again, it'll be just transitioning into an evening conversation about manhood. Yes, we want to talk about a manhood with young men, but I'm hoping that along with sharing some of the experience some of the gentlemen have experienced, as well as perhaps having someone in the room that they'll hear from someone and maybe at the conclusion, take the time to reach out to some of the others. And so we're focused on the next gen. We want to impart some wisdom, let them know that, there's those who've walked before them. But I feel it's going to be so exciting because it's about the community coming together. It's not being directed by departments within the city, but it's taking our resources, our facility, and knowing that these are the types of events we should have. I just want to also add that I'm just so happy with the group. And a lot of people aren't aware that my prior pathway, and I said it the other day at a mental health event that was held on Sunday, my prior pathway has been brought up in a family where I was exposed to mental health issues early in my life, not with my family members, and then I pursued it professionally. I was also on the board of the San Diego Mental Health Association as a board member, and I was also a paid psychiatric tech on a locked ward in San Diego for mental health. It's a serious issue. We like to think that people are going to walk out of somewhere and all of a sudden they're going to be magically cured. It just doesn't happen like that. We also have a problem with seeking help, seeking therapy, seeking counseling. You know, we as a people of color, and specifically African American men and women, we try to deal with a lot of things. And there's a lot that comes on. And at some point, there's a breaking point. So that is the event. I'm excited about it. And I'm excited about these gentlemen who are there for a purpose. They all provide something. I'm just can't wait to see it. And every day I find somebody else who I'm talking to. And then all of a sudden they're saying, oh, well, perhaps I could come. And I'm saying, absolutely.
Good, absolutely. That's great. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Now, Mr. Berryman, mentorship. We need a lot of that, don't we? A lot of our young men are not exposed to mentorship, being maybe perhaps single parent homes. Would that be an issue?
Well, it's been my experience as well as professional experience that every individual, and we're talking about specifically young men, needs someone to emulate with regards to their identity and their role, going from boy to you to man to husband and then to fatherhood. And so it needs to be a natural course of actions looking at the full and appropriate development of that youth going through those different stages. It's similar to the Erickson model of stages of development, and it's much similar toward manhood as well. And so it's so important for young men to have positive role models that they can emulate.
I see, I see. And this is part of what you do in your area. Is that right, Mr. Brents?
Yeah, just a little bit. so that when we look at this this event in particular, it's to raise awareness of men's mental and physical health. You know, we want to be able to promote positive masculinity and support ethical male role models. And that's, you know, what I've been doing for the last 35, 37 years.
I see, I see. And Dr. Palmer, tell me, now, I know a lot of our young men do not wish to share their thoughts, their inner thoughts of what they really, really want to know about. They don't want to ask, you know, and until they come to a point where it could be very almost tragic. Is that correct?
Well, on one hand, that is correct. However, I've always subscribed to the philosophy of if you present an opportunity and a safe space for those individuals, they'll be more than willing to talk and discuss. I usually go at it from a different perspective and start talking about and sharing my background, my history with them to let them know that it's okay. It's sort of a modeling standpoint to where you allow them that it's okay to talk about the feelings and your emotions and traumatic situations that's gone in. Because a lot of times these young people think that their world is unique and because nobody talks about it. And so when they get into an environment where other people have experienced similar tragedies or similar experiences, they're more likely to talk freely about their thoughts and their feelings, particularly if they know they can get some of them resolved.
That's right. That's right. And Ms. Davis, Ms. Vicki Davis, tell me, when young men have questions, and we have the mentorship that is being provided in our community centers for our young men and women as well, you find that they, at that point, they do open up more? Should we provide more of those centers?
Oh, well, absolutely. We can always use more support. And I think just to add on to Dr. Palmer's point and Mr. Berryman is that normalizing, expressing emotions is the best way to create a safe space for young men and anyone really to be able to communicate more thoroughly and honestly about what it is that they're experiencing. And so this event is going to be an opportunity. One of my favorite things about the way the event is put together is we've talked a lot about mentorship for older men to younger men, right? But
Great.
one of the things that I am learning as the chair in communicating with all the awesome people putting the event together is that the older men are also interested in learning from the younger men, that there are topics that will be covered that even those who you might assume will walk into the room to be a student will have the opportunity to be a teacher on.
Right.
And so we're not just sort of we're not putting them in a position of you need to come here and learn something, but also validating each person by letting them know that they have something to offer, and it is going to be the unique culmination of all of those perspectives, old to young, from mothers and daughters and people from all different ethnicities and walks of life. That's going to be the awesome takeaway for those who participate in the event.
That's wonderful. And that's great. Now, Mr. Brents, I believe you had something you wanted to share or a question that you want to share with us.
Well, I'm just going to say it like this with what Vicki just said. To add on to that is that healthy identity is what we're looking for. Shedding ourselves of these stereotypes, these negative inferences, and any matter of definition that would define men of color in a way not consistent with the norms identified in the rest of society. So men of color have they work, they have families, they have businesses, they do all the things necessary to live with dignity while respecting the rights of other people to do the same. But the society that we're living in, a lot of times they don't see that. So we need to create healthy identity. And I think this event is going to help us do some of that. So we're going to have some things where we get some takeaways and some things for us to do after the event. But this event specific, and Vicki can talk more about that. We're trying to get some take back, some things that'll be concrete that we can take back, and at the same time that they can learn from us. You don't know what you don't know. So our event is a day-long recognition of men's health with activities and programming to remind men to take care of their bodies and their minds.
Absolutely. I worked at a medical center for like 40 years. And one of the highest statistics is our people of color, not just men of color, but our people of color. We have more diabetes. We have more hypertension. Our men have more elevations of prostate cancer. I mean, you name it, and we got it. So we need to be aware. We need to familiarize our communities about these issues. Is that right, Mr. Berryman?
I just want to say I agree, but along with Mr. Brents is saying, we want to give a positive narrative as well.
Yes.
Because when we look at the statistics, I so certainly agree that with regards to African-American Black men, it doesn't look good. Even our numbers, our population, I read somewhere where fraternity, the ability to be able to have more babies with men is decreasing. I have a contract with the county address Black infant mortality, where there's a higher rate of Black infant mortality in our community than other communities in the state. Regards to education, but we also need to make them aware, make individuals aware of that, and then Absolutely. Find solutions to address a lot of those problems. And the first one has to do with identity, recognizing the fact that Black men are beautiful people. We have potentials because we have a society that tells us otherwise.
And this is what, all in all, what our mayor is doing here with this particular program that she is pushing for, health promotion interventions, not just mental, but physical as well.
Mhm.
Now, Vicki, you look like you have something you want to tell us. Now, come on, let's hear it.
Oh, to be honest, Erlinda, I'm enjoying the conversation, and also I'm excited because, like Mr. Berryman and Mr. Brent said, this is not just a day where we're going to be perpetuating already the narratives that exist that we see all the time, but this is going to be an opportunity to see in action men of color who are contributing to our community, who have businesses, who are awesome fathers, who have all of those things that we know are in our community on display for our young men, for our women, for one another, so that, like Mr. Berryman said, there are examples that can be emulated and replicated, and hopefully that is what our participants will get from today. From the day.
It's a day to celebrate the positive contributions of men. Today women are on equal terms with men and sometimes even outshine us. So this is vital for a more balanced society, but it's also important to celebrate the achievements of men. And in our own way, men too make positive and essential contributions to society, family, marriage, and child rearing. And hence this should be celebrated.
Absolutely.
And Ms. Patterson, can I jump
Yes, sir.
in?
Yes, Mayor.
Besides all the other exciting things I like to find myself involved in,
Please do.
I minored in history when I did my undergraduate, and I stumbled across what was so amazing and made me start this, I failed to say, was I stumbled across that very rarely do groups agree, but way back in our congressional and our Senate at our national government level, they did a Senate and congressional joint resolution acknowledging Men's Health Awareness Week and Day. But even when they did that, and I thought it was back in 1976, 60 something, I thought, wow, at least African-American men were being focused on, inclusive with other men, because they found that they all found that they were dying from prostate, testicular, and colon cancer.
Oh, yes.
And then they found that it noted that specifically men of color, African-American men, if they were getting early screening as early as 16 years of age, that they could get, if early screening brought about early detection, their survivability rate went up by about 85%. So my question was then, well, and this started because my father had an enlarged prostate gland, and I was the firstborn. He only had 3 girls. He saw me as a guy, his son. When he discovered he had it, he not only wanted my mother, his spouse, to be in the medical room with him when they told him what needed to occur, but he wanted me there. He wanted me there because he knew if I was telling him that this was what we needed to do, he would proceed. And he didn't have a son, so he called on me. And then when I discovered this, and Men's Health Awareness Month and Week was in June, and June is my birthday month, the 19th of June. And I wanted to do this in honor of my father, but also for young men. Because I said, if we were getting them screened early and we could have a greater survivability rate, who moved the needle? And we were telling people they didn't need to see about getting a prostate exam until they were 40.
That's right.
And so I raised it. But I just want to share with you, Congress has continued every year to do a resolution. And the one that they did in the 117th Congress, which was in 2021 and 2022 session, it's Senate Resolution 205. And let me just read something to you guys so that even they didn't have the first with the new thought. I want people to know why it comes back home to African Americans. And they said here in the resolution, whereas the origin of National Minority Health Month is National Negro Health Week, established in 1915 by Dr. Booker T. Washington. He was focusing on our health then, and then they go in, and this is current. And it says, whereas, and this is to Mr. Parker, recently they found that whereas African American men are 70% more likely to die from a stroke than a non-Hispanic white man. And then they say down here, whereas in 2018, although African Americans represented only 13% of the population of the United States, African Americans accounted for 42% of the new HIV diagnosis. And whereas in 2018, African American youth accounted for an estimated 51%, and Hispanic youth accounted for an estimated 27% of all new HIV diagnoses among youth in the United States. And it goes on and on and on. So it's inclusive, but it's still focusing on the statistics. And while we're not the majority in representation, we still seem to be at the top of things. And I could go further and further. They quote heart disease, diabetes, and we all know this. I'm looking forward to see how, if they better to start focusing on our mental health. And it's probably here. So of course, during the night, that evening, we will have this information.
Absolutely.
We will make this available so we know that this is a journey we've been on for a long time.
That's right.
And even in Congress and Senate, they recognize that it wasn't their thought. It wasn't a new thought. It started with Dr. Booker T. Washington in 1950.
And we don't want to scare away the attendees by giving them the information about what they need to look for in their physical care. About make sure you have your prostate checked. Make sure, if there's diabetes in the family, keep an eye on it. We just want
to say it. Make sure if you're active, to Ryan's point.
Yes.
And be responsible if you're going to be active in sexual encounters.
Yes.
Because your number's subject to be exposed to HIV.
Yeah.
Before you can either get to be a good parent or good father.
Yes. Yes.
I believe it needs to be articulated.
Ms. Roberts and Ms. Patterson, all of this is stemmed from men's emotional health, the mental, and what we've been told as young men, as Mr. Brents and Ms. Davis spoke of. We've been told that we are supposed to be hypersexual as Black males. And let's just say it as it is. The one reason why the HIV rate is up, because we feel we have to procreate so much. That psychologically, I mean, as we get older and become more wiser, then obviously we can intellectualize our way in knowing that this is not the right way. But to young men that are sexually active, that's how they show their manhood. Fast forward to now, you're at the age where you're experiencing prostate cancer. Again, our sexual prowess is our identity. So when we are saying, hey, if you have prostate cancer, you have to go through surgery. Some men end up being impotent. Let's just say it like it is. Some men end up being impotent as a result. So as a Black male, I don't want to know, because I don't want to experience impotency, because then it goes back to the core of my manhood. So subsequently, more African-American men die as a result of having prostate cancer, which now we know with modern technology and modern medicine, it is not a death sentence to have prostate cancer. But why are Black men, African-American men, dying because of it? Because they won't go get it because of the implication that it has direct correlation to their manhood and who they are as a person.
Let me share something with you right quick here. I had an individual who was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He refused to get the treatment because he was concerned about the side effect, the possible impotency, the possible leakage, whatever. And he died a year later.
Mm-hmm.
His wife married a younger dude. So come on. Do you want to die? or do you want to live? There are treatment options for everything now. It's just a matter of knowing what they are
And
and
it's mine.
teaching our people to be advocates for themselves, to be advocates, to ask, okay, so you say I might have this. Well, what is this? What can I do? And this is what we need to teach our young people. They have, it's a gift they have, and they need to use it. Now, Perry, you have something to say. Tell me.
I just think that at the end of the day, men are, especially men of color, are an equal and vital part of society. So just like women, they too don multiple roles as fathers, sons,
Yes.
brothers, uncles, and grandfathers, and so on. So shouldn't we celebrate men, both for themselves and their achievements? And so that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to come in and just make sure that we're hitting the topics based on the fact that we've got all these challenges ahead of us, but we also have all these achievements behind us that we need to talk about, and for the manner in which men support women in their lives, the same women supporting men in their lives. What better way to do that than by dedicating a day to all men? That's my purpose for being on the show today, is just to say, what better way, than dedicating a day. And I'm glad the mayor had this idea that it would not only dedicate, not only having the idea to dedicate the day to men's health and wellness and all that, but also pointing out some of the other things. Discrimination is real, but not stop there. Have some solutions for some of these things.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. And Miss Vicki, we do have, another concern that we're going to be talking about at the event on June 15th over at the Grace Vargas Center. We have a lot of parents who are teaching their children. Put your hands on the steering wheel if you ever get stopped. We're going to have a booth to talk about that there, huh? Educate some of our kids there.
Yeah, actually, as a therapist, one of my favorite orientations is to be experiential. I think that allowing participants to experience, in a sense, some of the things that we will have conversation about will make the conversation that much more impactful. And also it will allow those who may not necessarily have that same experience when they walk out of the room into the world, the opportunity to really get insight into what our men of color are going through. And also, again, this is one of those table topics where we're hoping to talk about planning solutions and areas of opportunity to address some of those challenges when our men of color are encountering law enforcement.
And this is not just for our men of color, of course, it's for everyone, right? As well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. It looks like our time is up. I'll give you a few seconds to give your last thoughts, if you would, Mr. Berryman. In closing, what would you like the viewer to know?
Yes, well, first of all, I'd like to thank the mayor for allowing this event to occur. I think it's a great event. I just feel that it's important that we uplift this event in regards to the positive value in men, as well as our young boys, and looking at our young boys as opportunity for our future. They're our legacy. And we need to present the information in a loving way, expressing our love and not a condemnating, a way of being condemning of men. Because one of the things men hate the most is being nagged and condemned. And we know punishment doesn't work for men either. So we need to be able to express our concern for our young boys and our young men in a loving way, indicating that we need them for our children, we need them for our families, we need them for our community. And that's the reason why we're concerned with regards to mental health and physical health.
Thank you, Mr. Berryman. Dr. Palmer, a few thoughts from you.
My few thoughts is that thank all of you for putting this together and having the mindset to do so. My thought is, let this not be the first or the last time this happens. Let this be a springboard for events to come, because mental health and physical health in the African American community at large is not a one-time event. It's a lifetime And
Lifetime.
by coming out and participating in this event will actually gain you information that you can take back and share with your family as well as with yourself. Because after all, the life that you save might be your own.
Wow, thank you. Mr. Brents?
I just want to say having a day focused on men is a great way to encourage fathers to be present for their kids and in the community and to play an active role in their lives and in the community's life.
Very good, thank you. And thank you for all the work you put in. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Davis, Vicki, what would you like to share?
I just want to thank the mayor for being so well versed in the needs of our community and for being so active in putting things together like this that allow us the opportunity to provide these types of resources, to have these types of conversations. I want to say thank you to Mr. Perry for allowing me to chair. I have already gotten so much in just hearing the conversation leading up to what we're planning for the day. So I'm very excited to be a part of it. And I'm very excited to have the opportunity to share all of the awesome things that we come up with the community on that day, June 15th.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you. And now, Mayor, we come to you.
First, I just want to thank the fact that I'm in a position that can do and bring forth to our community with the support of my colleagues and the city to open this. This is not the end of a conversation. This should be the beginning. And to that point, I will hope that the steering committee, we will look to do something either quarterly or within 6 months to keep this dialogue going. But as I said, closing, minored in history, we all say that it takes a village, and that's what this is about. But the other thing that I love is an African proverb, and it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I hope that's what we're going to be doing from here on out, is moving forward together. So that concludes my comment.
Thank you, Mayor.
And again, my condolences, truly. While I was on this call, the daughter, Miss Janoy Parker, called me, and that's Mr. Parker's daughter. And I didn't even want to go into message. I just let it go into voicemail. It's a sad day for me, but he would have been a person that says, hey, we got to go together. And that's what I try to do.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank
Mayor.
you.
Our condolences, I'm sure, from the entire committee and the city of Rialto. Brenda Parker is a very active individual in our community. And we love you, Brenda, and we pray that you have some peace. Thank you. Now, Mr. Brents, thank you. Dr. Palmer, thank you. Mayor,
You're welcome.
we are grateful for you. Ms. Davis, thank you. And Mr. Berryman, thank you. My name is Erlinda. In closing, I was going to say, well, hopefully in the future, Rialto can do something else besides just the yearly men's program. And the mayor said, we're going to probably do it every 6 months or every quarter. So Mayor, you are on top of it. I'm always telling you that. And I want to thank you for being such a great leader. Again, remember, creating a healthy future for our men of color is our key. I'm Erlinda, and until next time, we'll see you June 15th. Don't forget, we're going to have the farmers market, and the farmers market is going to have a lot of activity. I saw where they even had a dentist. So you have to call and make an appointment, however, for that. But there's a lot of activity there. And June 15th, that evening, we are going to be there at 6 o'clock, Perry?
Yes, 6 p.m.
And what was the address again, Perry?
1411 1411 South Riverside Avenue, the Grace Vargas Senior Center.
Wonderful. So everybody, until then, we'll see you and take care.